You may be aware that we recently agreed to sell 10 properties from our social housing stock. Old-fashioned term is council houses. I did some filming whilst visiting some of these properties, and before we take a look, just wanted to explain a little bit more about why we are selling them. Together with Cornwall Housing Limited and Cornwall Council, we own more than 10,400 homes across Cornwall, and in a very small number of cases we do have difficult decisions to make. When we face significant costs to repair or upgrade, we have to really think hard if that money would be better invested in new homes. There are various reasons why houses end up in this condition, and of course some are older properties that have served families for generations, but they weren't necessarily built with energy efficiency or long-term durability in mind. In a small number of cases, issues in homes have gone historically unreported, and those properties have fallen into disrepair, and you'll see that in some of these films that you're about to see. A lot of people have contacted me recently feeling very concerned about selling off council homes. Now, this isn't a decision that I take at all lightly, and I have to say that of the 10,400 homes that we have, we've sold off 10, or we're going to sell off 10 this year, with a further few more that may become vacant as people move on or the properties become available, and we'll look at the condition each and every time when they do become available. But I just want to give a sense of, it's not a decision that I take at all lightly. Every property is very important, but sometimes the properties, we can sell them off and then reinvest into new properties that are fit for purpose. You can see this particular property, it's a single skin construction. Somebody's obviously been in here and had a look to see how the place is made. You'd never be able to keep this place insulated, and it just would never ever meet modern standards. I'm sure it's given people some lovely lives in its time, but it needs to be given the time and investment that perhaps only an individual can give to this sort of property. This one, although it looks absolutely beautiful, it's an 18th century old miner's cottage. There are parts of the house that are actually quite clearly open to the elements. There's no roof tiles missing, and lots of mould and damp on the ceiling, lots of rot inside. It's clearly going to cost quite a lot of money to put right. I'll just have a little walk around to give you an idea. But one of the most shocking things in this house is I'm just going to go very carefully where I go, but you can see just behind me is the stairwell, and you can actually see that the construction of the house is single skin. It's an old slate type construction, but it's actually open to the outside. As troubled as it makes me, I think sometimes we need to make decisions to allow us to put the money back into modern housing stock, modern homes that are much more efficient and cheap to run. I can tell it's very damp in this house, and these homes need to be in locations and environments that are suitable for people to actually be able to live a good life with people around them in communities where there are shops and facilities and connectivity, things like buses and so on. I'm at a lovely old council house in St Judy. Again, trouble is absolutely full of damp and mould. It looks like it was last decorated in the 1960s. Let me just show you down in towards the bathroom. It's not particularly nice, as you can probably see. All this stuff is going to cost thousands of pounds to do, but there's a problem with the roof structure. There's a lot of rot in the roof, I found out, and you can see that the whole house itself is quite damp. If I just go down and look at the floor, you can see there's a big damp patch coming up in the middle of the floor, which is a puzzle. Can't see why that is. But again, on the surveyor's report, this house is going to cost somewhere in the region of 60 or 70,000 pounds to get where it needs to be. And again, it's a fairly remote community, and I think this is the sort of house that would be better off picked up by somebody who's going to be able to renovate it and have it as a lifetime home for themselves. It'll make a lovely home for somebody one day, but for council stock property where we have the regulator who's looking to us to maintain standards, I think this is the sort of house that it's going to be very, very difficult to bring into a situation where it's going to meet those standards. There's no bathroom at all upstairs. It's all the facilities are downstairs, and it's very tight as well. When we're ever thinking of disposing properties like these, it's not just a question of money. There's much more to it than that. That was the case until I was portfolio holder, and I asked the officer team to look much more closely at the decision-making process as to why we would choose to let a house go from our portfolio. And what we do is we look not only at the cost of renovations. In this particular case, it's going to be £65,000 to £70,000 to get it to meet standards, but also we look at local need. How many other socially rented properties are available locally? How much housing need is there, as demonstrated by people that are on our housing register? And also things like transport connections, along with a whole load of other things, like how easy would the property be to maintain for people coming into it. So unfortunately, sometimes we have to let properties like this go. It pains me to think that we're losing properties, but one thing that I will pledge as cabinet member for housing is that by the end of my tenure as the cabinet member, I'll make sure that there are more council houses than there were when I started.